record's out the window. That's not just cliche, that's real.
And you sense something coming now for the Steelers. Just finds, comes up.
It's about finishing in the fourth quarter.
Finley will keep it right up the middle. It'll be a great Christmas week here in Cincinnati.
I don't know, y'all. This Steelers season is starting to turn into a tale of two halves. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take on this fine Tuesday. Max Kellerman, Dominique Foxworth. I'm Molly Karam Rose. Marcus Spears, Kendrick Perkins will be with us in just a minute. Morning, guys. I'm not sure what's going on with the Steelers team, so let's talk about it because they were 14.5-point underdogs. It's now their third straight loss. Big Ben kind of looking like hot garbage. Max, how much is Tomlin to blame for this downfall?
Not at all. And by the way, here's another way to put it. Tomlin's totally to blame. Let's blame Tomlin for 11 wins. The team is 11-4. Let's blame Tomlin. Let's blame Tomlin for being 11-4 with a 38-year-old quarterback coming off of catastrophic injury and an offensive coordinator with a very conservative kind of template in terms of the offense and disposition. Let's blame Tomlin for Bud Dupree's injury. You want to blame Tomlin? Like, Tomlin went 8-8 without Roethlisberger last year. He got him back as a guy who's clearly not the same. He made adjustments. He gets rid of the ball much faster, but the arm strength isn't there anymore, guys. He can't throw it down the field, and they don't have a running game. And a running game is not about your running backs or even, like, the play calling is predictable. It is true. But they're not getting good enough run blocking. Let's blame that on Tomlin. Let's blame everything on Tomlin because it all amounts to 11 wins. Dominique, let's blame on Tomlin the fact that instead of hosting a Thursday night game on a short week, which is an enormous advantage, they got messed around and had to take their bye early and then also skip their mini bye and play 3 games in 13 days, and they're still sitting at 11-4. Let's blame Tomlin.
I'll happily go along with you. I'm not one to criticize Mike Tomlin that much because he is a great coach. But I'll use a Mike Tomlinism to blame Mike Tomlin. You're laying out all these excuses. You know what he says? Excuses are the tools of the incompetent. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're making a bunch of excuses for a team that, like you mentioned, won 11 games. So Mike Tomlin certainly deserves all the credit that you should get when you win 11 games. But if you're going to give him that credit, and we gave him a bunch of credit last year for going 8-8, if we're going to give him that credit for those times when he wins, then we also have to be critical of the times when they lose. And I understand if there's one loss and it's because of one side of the ball in that situation, understand the criticism falls on the coordinator. They've lost 3 in a row with the same issues that continue to pop up. At some point, you have to blame the man who's in charge. And I think that there's no better coach for that organization. There's nobody who is better positioned to bring them out of this. I'm not saying Mike Tomlin's a bad coach, but he certainly deserves criticism for all the things that you're saying. He's seen those things. He knows why their offense stinks. He knows that they're not physical enough. He knows they can't run the ball. He knows Bud Dupree got hurt. He knows Bush is hurt. He knows all this stuff. He needs to compensate for it in the same way they compensated for Big Ben's injury last season. So I was listening to Mina Kimes' podcast, and Adam Lefko was on there, and he made a good point that I'm just going to steal, is that their offense is not complementary because they're a short pass offense. It's hard to run the ball when you're also throwing short passes. You're not really putting the defense in any conflict. There's not much of a bind there because the punishment for overcommitting to the run is a 5-yard slant. And the punishment for trying to cover that slant when they run the ball is not really much. They're just going to hand the ball off. So it's tough when your quarterback, you're limited by your quarterback's arm strength and his ability at this age. When he can't attack you down the field, it's hard to stretch the defense vertically. So that is something that Mike Tomlin needs to compensate for. I'm not sure that you can blame the offensive line. And I know people say that the Steelers are not as physical as they once were. When I watch the Steelers play, I don't see a soft team. I see a team that is not well built to win right now. They have a defense that still is pretty good despite not playing well recently. But that offense is a problem when you're relying on short passes and your receivers making up the lion's share of your offense. You don't have a running game to give Ben a break, and he seems to have forgotten how to throw down the field. And his best asset was just being physically imposing, buying time, holding on to the ball. He can't do that anymore. There are a lot of problems, but Mike Tomlin is part of it. Like, he's the leader of that team. He has to take some blame for this situation. I don't know how you can say he gets none.
We'll let Max respond in just a minute, but we're going to get Marcus Spears in here. Good morning, Marcus. Jump in on this.
What's up, Ma? What's up? Yeah, both of you guys make great points, but listen, I disagree with Foxy on the physicality standpoint, man. This is a different, I guess, idea of what the Pittsburgh Steelers are, and to that point, like a part of this has to fall on Mike Tomlin. A lot of this falls on the coaching staff as well. Like, there's a lot of blame to go around for what's going on. But you knew you had an aging quarterback coming off a major surgery. And yes, you have won 11 games, Max, but we're not talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers in the context of winning 11 games. We were having a conversation about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who a lot of people thought was the team that was going to threaten the Chiefs in the AFC based on what they were doing. It was a lot of talk about how this team looked so good with Ben Roethlisberger being back after going 8-8 without the quarterback, and that was the substantial difference. But if you aren't supporting him with the run game, like if you aren't supporting him with that ability to just bludgeon people, then you're doing a disservice to an older quarterback. What have we screamed about with Tom Brady? Run the football in Tampa. What have we screamed about? Like what has the Saints featured? Alvin Kamara, like no Michael Thomas. So look, you have to compensate for these guys with the ability to run the football. And I never thought that we would sit here with a question about if the Pittsburgh Steelers could run the football. And I know they lost Munchak, the offensive line coach. I know all of the things that transpired. But to not cast some of the fault or the responsibility on Mike Tomlin just as much as we casting it on the players and the other coaches on the coaching staff would be crazy, because the bottom line is it is a part of the head coach's job to identify problems and get them corrected. And it ain't like the damn Steelers ain't just had a problem running the football in the last 3 weeks.
Guys, they were undefeated. They were supposed to have a home bye. Look, let me start by saying Tomlin's attitude, Dominique, where he talks about, what is it? You mentioned it before. Excuses are the tools of what? The incompetent or whatever it is. The point is that attitude is the reason that he's able to go 8-8 without a quarterback last year. That attitude serves him well. But as someone analyzing the situation, I don't have to have that attitude as an analyst observing it, impartially, objectively. He needs that to give him the juice to get things done that are improbable. But if we're just describing what happened, they were undefeated. They had a soft schedule. There's no two ways about it. They had close wins when they had tough games. They got to the rough part of their schedule. Understand, when they were forced to take a week 4 bye, they were supposed to have an enormous advantage hosting a divisional rival on a short week at home, right? Statistically, that's a big advantage. They had to give it up. So now they're supposed to have a mini bye later in the season. They have to give that up too, both times because of COVID, neither time because of anything to do with them, okay? So now they play 3 games in 13 days, just when the schedule gets tough. You know what I see? I see a 38-year-old quarterback. You're right. There's no deep threat, really. Until, for some weird reason, the end of the game when they didn't need to go deep and he throws into multiple coverage, right? But the point is, he has a 38-year-old quarterback who can't throw the ball deep. He doesn't have an offensive line that can block for the run. He has an injured defense that, as a result, is playing not as well as they did. And a tired team, just as the schedule got tough. Like, those things are all true. He's still sitting on 11 wins.
That works to explain a lot of things. And I agree with you. I like Mike Tomlin's mindset, but that we don't have to adopt his mindset to analyze him or analyze anybody else. So I'll put that aside. But that explanation works when you lose to the Bills. The Bills are good. The Bills are a legitimate threat in the AFC. I'm fine with that. They lost to Washington and Cincinnati. They are 9-18-1.
Washington.
And if you take away the two, if you combine those two teams, they're 9-18-1.
Washington can play.
These are not good football teams.
I get it. But just like
stop it.
Look, you're pointing out that I'm playing a little.
Don't do that.
Hold up. What you're pointing out that I'm playing a little fast and loose with the 11 wins, and then they're tired because the Bengals. You're supposed to beat the Bengals without Joe Burrow, no doubt. Don't act like Washington's not a quality win, especially at the time At the time they played them, Washington can play defense. Washington's an ascending team, guys. So, like, don't lump in Washington with
Max,
the Bengals.
who you
The
picked to win
Bengals,
the
I
game?
agree, that's
Who
a
you
bad
picked to win the
divisional
game?
loss.
Max, how can you
thought that
say
was-
that?
I
You've
thought
been
the
on
Steelers-
this show.
Hold on. I thought the Steelers would beat Washington, but only because even in a win against the Ravens, they got chewed out as though they lost. So I thought they would have the juice necessary to avoid a trap game. They didn't, and they were playing on a short week, and Washington's been
This
hot.
conversation is about how much blame Mike Tomlin deserves. I think we all agree that he deserves the credit for 11 wins. And we all agree that situations have gotten difficult. But I would say if you lost one game to Washington, we can chalk that up to the team overlooked it. You lose a game to Buffalo, you can chalk it up that maybe Buffalo's better than you and potentially it's just a tough situation. Then you lose again when your back's against the wall. You start to need to win. You've lost 2 in a row. You understand that the people in the division are closing on you. You understand that you're going into the playoffs. Like, how do you get into that situation and not blame the coach when you lose to a team that is starting Finley? Like, they don't even have their best player, their quarterback, in that primetime situation. You can't even assume that the players aren't up for that game. They are up for that game. It's Monday Night Football, and they know that they need to stop this losing streak. If they lose in that point, I'm sure you can blame a lot of people.
Foxy,
you can say they're not
Foxy,
physical.
what do you
But
want?
I don't
Foxy,
buy
don't
that.
do this.
You can say a bunch of stuff,
Foxy,
but you
don't
can't
do
say
this.
that the coach doesn't deserve some blame. Go ahead, Swagoo.
Don't do this with Max, man. Max know damn well the Steelers wasn't supposed to lose to the Bengals, and he know damn well Mike Tomlin deserves some of the blame. And then go talk that foolishness about the Washington football team. You've been saying all year the NFC East sucked, and ain't no good teams in the conference. Now
Washington was
that's
playing better.
that's a understandable loss. Nobody expected the Pittsburgh Steelers to lose to the Washington football team, and we damn sure ain't expect them to lose to the Bengals. No one,
What?
even the Bengals, didn't expect the
Hold on.
Pittsburgh Steelers to lose to them last night.
Washington was what, their third game in 13 days, or was that their fourth in 19 days? And they were ascending at the time.
Max,
Guys,
they
I'm
got
not going to
two-
sit here and pretend Washington wasn't playing well at the time, and they were playing defense, and Pittsburgh was on a short week. And what does RC always say when he's on this show? What does RC always say the best time to play the Ravens or the Steelers are? After they play each other. It's an emotional letdown. I can't make an excuse for the team losing to the Bengals. Did they look tired to me? Yes. Did the offense, did Fitchner, like his kind of very conservative game and predictable game calling, catch up to them? Yes. But guys, more than anything, what it looked like to me was you have an old quarterback who can't throw the ball down the field. So they're compensating with these short passes, and they don't block for the run. So when you say, well, Tomlin's got to figure it out, he's got to make lemonade out of lemons, Dominique, he's mostly done that. They had a bad loss yesterday, but mostly he's done that.
I mean, maybe your expectations for that team is different than the expectations that they have and the expectations that we all had. We thought they were going to be Super Bowl contenders because last year they were so good without a good quarterback. They bring back their quarterback, and they haven't been what you expect. You can point to that record and all those